And other teams, you're going to be like, why do they have so many middle guys? They should be, they're shorter than on this team. So it just depends on the matchups. It'll play a big role in this team.
That makes sense. All right. So let's jump over to our Michigan basketball here. Last year, they exceeded preseason expectations that projected them to finish in the middle of the Big Ten, but ended up winning the regular season, earning the number one seed in the tournament, or a number one seed in the tournament, I should say, before losing to UCLA in the Elite Eight. They finished 23-5 overall, 14-3 in the conference play. Heading into this season, they're ranked number 6 in the country and has them at over under 27 wins with plus 330 odds, which is tied with Purdue to win the Big Ten, and plus 1,400 to win the national championship, which I think was top 5. Some subtractions that they have from last year was Isaiah Livers, Franz Wagner to the NBA. Mike Smith and Chauncey Brown also are gone. Some additions: McDonald's All-American in big man Musa Diabate. Is that right?
Diabate.
Forward Caleb Houston and guard Kobe Buffkin. Point guard Devonte Jones, a grad transfer who started the past 3 seasons at Coastal Carolina, will step in the role vacated by Smith. The projected starting lineups, Devonte Jones, Eli Brooks, Caleb Houston, Brandon Johns Jr., and Hunter Dickinson. Just a quick little preview of heading into the season. My thoughts were, I was against the Juwan Howard hire. I thought it was gimmicky. I thought it was cute. I thought it was just, I didn't think it was going to work, and I am dead wrong. He's proven the last 2 years that he can take what's given to him and coach. And he's, taking beeline guys, mediocre, not any high-end talent, 5 stars, anything like that. And he's turned them into very good basketball players. Now here, we're looking at a completely different type of basketball now. And that's going to be the key for me, is seeing how Juwan Howard can coach egos, can coach guys that have the 5 stars next to their name that came here for the ball, came here to be the guy. You have multiples. And you also have the mix of the veterans that are used to the old way, and now we're going to bring in this new way. I'm very interested to see how that can mix together and how Juwan Howard can kind of, run this type of team. It's a different type of team. They might play the same type of basketball, but when you're bringing in this type of talent, that number 2, I think, overall recruiting class is what I thought I found.
They were number 1. They were number 1 for the entire year. Did they get leapfrogged, Micah? I think they were number 1.
From what I read last night, I think they finished number 2, but there's also different recruiting, so who knows which one I was looking at.
Yep, 24/7 versus ESPN, they all do it differently.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think this is a whole new ball game, and he was the first to admit it. In a preseason press conference, he talked about how, hey, this is new to me. I don't know. We'll see. And he's kind of kept that mantra. He did that the last couple of years, too.
Yeah, he's just being smart with that.
Yeah, so, what are your thoughts heading into the season? Either one of you, if you guys have any, high expectations, right?
Very high.
I think your question earlier when you were laying this out is, how do you manage this kind of, how do you coach this type of team with the new talent coming in, with this high of a recruiting class and everything? I think the way you do that is you have the veteran leadership that they have right now. Eli Brooks is somebody that, a freshman coming in, is Eli Brooks going to be like a all-star level talent in the NBA? No, probably not, but he will definitely earn your respect based on the way he plays and the way, how long he's been there and the respect he's earned over the years. So you're not going to just go in and take the ball away from him or don't think that he's going to shoot the ball. And then having an All-American in Hunter Dickinson down low, you're not going to come in as a Diabate and just say, I deserve to be the starting center here. No, you got to earn it. And that's the beauty of having this type of talent and recruiting classes on top of each other, is if you're getting the right personalities, they're going to, they're not going to be jealous of this. They're just going to work that much harder to achieve what the guy next to him is achieving.
Yeah, I really hope so. I think working with guys like Dickinson, Eli Brooks, I think you already brought both those names up. But it's if those guys can bring in the old way and the younger guys can come in and be like, yeah, this is your team. I'm here to follow and show us the ropes. It will be a very smooth transition. But if let's say Eli Brooks isn't living up to expectations and isn't producing, that can change, freshman's view on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and
100%.
And that could be
in that case.
can
Then
change
you
things. And same thing with Hunter Dickinson. Like, I'm not saying he's not going to produce, but I think he's here for different reasons, and it'll be interesting. I'll get into that here in a bit, but I don't know. Go ahead.
So I expect this team to be like, this is a good mix right now because Brandon Johns Jr. too might be the most underrated player. So I'm going to bring his name up probably a little bit later, but he is one of the most underrated talents on this team. And the fact that he's going to be starting with the height and size that he has and the basketball ability to shoot the ball from the outside, score down low, rebound, make good pass decisions. Like, he has earned the playing time that he's going to get this year. And that just means, again, that the second group, these young players are going to have to step up. And maybe they're not one-and-dones. That's fine. These guys don't look like one-and-dones to me.
Okay.
So even though they got the number 1 or 2 recruited class in the country, these aren't guys that are just going to turn around and leave after 1 year and be the number 1, number 2 overall draft pick,
I think that's
next year.
kind of gone. I feel like
no, it's not gone.
No.
No.
We just haven't got that much talent in them coming out right now.
Yeah, I mean, well, you look at last year: Cade Cunningham, Jalen Green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, at least were all one-and-dones.
Were they?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first one or non-one-and-done guy is probably like Franz Wagner, who's a 2-and-done.
All right.
So, no, that's not gone. But I'm just saying, like, these guys, I don't think they're the ones that are just going to be leaving for the lottery because they're not committed to the school. Like, these are guys that might stick around for 2-3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, and maybe not Caleb Houston. Maybe, but we'll see. Like, if he has an off shooting year, then he'll probably come back. If he has a great shooting year, he'll probably leave and be a top 10, 15 pick.
Yeah, so I had him slotted as my breakout player. Number 10 recruit in the country, 5-star out of Florida, 24/7 sports. So obviously when I don't watch college or high school basketball. I'm going to admit that right now.
Come on, man.
So I'm going to tell you what 24/7 sports says. Houston is long and lean shooter who is an excellent low maintenance prospect. What does that mean? Low maintenance. Like, you don't have to change a shot? Is that what that means?
No, he doesn't need the ball in his hands to be great.
That's what I was hoping when I read that, but
He's
I didn't
a team
know if
player.
It was, okay.
He's a team player who can sit on the outside, and then when the big guy gets doubled and he kicks it out to the corner, he's going to get a lot of points that way.
Okay. They said he's a perfect stretch 4 with his size and skill level. What sets him apart from his peers is his feathery catch-and-shoot jump shot that he knocks down at an efficient rate. So, okay, I'm not the brightest basketball guy. I don't know if you guys know that about me or not.
Really?
When I hear featherly catch and shoot jump shot, my brain went right to like Kevin Durant. Is that? I'm not saying that's what he plays like or anything like that, but that's what went to my head. Is that fair? Is that what that means?
It's a little bit different, but I would say it's a decent comparison. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is a sharpshooter for sure. He's probably the best freshman sharpshooter before any games are played that people would be expecting.
Okay.
He does not need the ball in his hands, meaning that he's not going to just dribble and create his own shot like Kyrie Irving and make something happen out of nothing.
Yeah.
But he plays within the system. As he gets the ball, it is just like the most effortless shot you can imagine. Kevin Durant probably is a pretty good comparison there, even though the form isn't exactly the same. But yeah, I mean, he's gonna be 3 feet behind the 3-point line. You're gonna be like, oh man, that didn't look like he shot the ball at all. It looked like he was shooting a free throw.
Gotcha. All right.
And he's smooth and he's confident. And he can shoot the ball and he will shoot the ball and he'll score a lot of points.
Do you have a
this year.
different breakout player? Or is that the easy pick here?
No, I mean that's a great pick. I think Caleb Houston's also an obvious pick. Let me go back to some of these. Tyson Walker would be. Oh, did I just go back to Michigan State?
Yeah, I think you did.
Sorry. Who's the
Diabate?
freshman? No, who's the freshman? Devonte Jones. Devonte Jones is their transfer coming in as a point guard.
Yeah.
I think Devonte Jones is my breakout. I think he's going to be the Mike Smith from last year.
Yeah.
And he could end up being – I think he's going to handle the ball a little bit more than Smith did, but he's that important to the offense. He's going to be that important to this team and probably the minutes played by the end of the year.
You think he's more talented than Mike Smith, don't you?
I think coming in, he's more proven, right?
I think he's probably more talented and more proven, but he might. He fits a different role. He fits a different role.
It might not be as seamless as it was with Mike Smith.
He probably won't put up the number. Like, if you guys remember, Mike Smith was playing like 36 to 40 minutes a game. Sometimes he wouldn't even come out of the game.
Yeah.
Like, it was insane. I don't think he's that kind of a guy. I think they're going to give minutes to other players, but he'll be over 30 minutes a game.
So, in 2021, Sun Belt Player of the Year, he has 1,381 career points and 341 assists in 81 games. He's a 23-year-old versatile finisher and shot 37% on threes. I mean, yeah. I mean, they have him coming in as basically the Mike Smith of this team. He needs to be. I had him slotted in my under-the-radar player. I'm going to just say that now so we can skip it later. That's why I wanted to get that information out there. But going back to – so that was your breakout player there.
Yeah, that's my breakout.
Don't forget about. I went with Diabate. I think he's an easy guy to kind of forget about, mainly because he's not the number one recruit coming in, and he's also he's a bigger guy, right? Like he's kind of. I don't want to say. I know he's not a center, so it's not like Hunter Dickinson's in his way, but he kind of is. It's like when Hunter Dickinson's gone, you can move into the centerless type team.
Yeah.
And this is a guy that kind of fits that center role. So he's kind of in the way, even though it's a different position. Is that fair? So that's kind of where I'm just like.
Well, and I think their first game against, who did they play? Wayne State. It was an exhibition game.
Right.
I think Diabate actually shot a free throw and banked one and made it. So he might not have the touch that Dickinson has.
Okay.
But you're right. He could go out and guard a point guard. And switch onto a point guard and play legitimate defense against him, where Dickinson would just be, his foot speed isn't there to match a point guard.
Yeah, they say he's energetic, athletic, and physically intimidating. I thought those were the keywords that stood out to me
fast,
that I read about this guy. Is that he's a good defender as well, and he's just ready to ball. Is what it sounds like, and he's going to fight
100%
to win the game, and that's great to have. I mean, it's kind of what the Pistons are going to try to be, right? Is just always be more aggressive and fight for every inch. He kind of fits that mold. I think he'll be interesting to see if Hunter Dickinson kind of slows things down a little bit. But I don't know.
Hunter Dickinson is still sizably bigger physically than Diabate too.
Yeah,
wild.
He's a big dude.
He's big. He doesn't jump high, but he's just high. He stands high.
Who's your don't forget about player, Ryan?
My don't forget about is Brandon Jones Jr.
Yep.
I've seen the skill since he was a freshman. I would see him and be like, why is he not getting the playing time? And then he'd make a dumb mistake on defense, be like, oh, okay, well, that's probably the reason why he's not getting the playing time. And he's done that for a few years. Last year, he was solid. He was rock solid. This year, he's going to have the role of opportunity. He's the experienced one out there. They're going to allow him to play, and they trust him. And that trust is going to go a long ways this year with Brandon Jones Jr., and I think his skill will show through in the end. He could end up being the MVP of this team at the end of the year.
Do you think is he the Livers replacement? I mean, I'm all about, like, I watched the game, so all right, who's going to fill that role? Who's going to fill that role? Is that his type of game? It's way different, right?
To me, he's the Franz Wagner replacement.
Okay. And
I know that he was on the team last year with Wagner, but to me, he's an athletic, big guy who will shoot the ball, score the ball, be the lightning bolt when they need it, but just be reliable overall.
Okay.
So I would think Isaiah Livers would handle the ball a little bit more than Brandon Johns will.
Okay.
And he was like the point guard from the point forward type, and that's not his role in this, but he's going to be reliable and he's going to be defending guys and he's going to score some points.
Mike, and feel free to jump in if you have names that you want to bring up for any of these categories.
Yep.
I'm going to move down to rebound player. I went with Eli Brooks. Not the fact that he had a bad year. I just think they're going to rely on him a lot more. Like, I mean, you already brought it up. I don't want to get too much into it, but that's kind of where I went. Rebound player for you guys. Anybody?
No. This is a hard one because I don't know if anybody's. I mean, Brandon Johns might be the rebound because of that, but it's not that anybody played bad last year. This team was was rock solid. So Eli Brooks, I think, is a good choice.
I already told you my under the radar player was Devonte Jones. For all the reasons we said earlier, do you have somebody else that kind of stood out to you there, or do you want to move down to MVP?
Don't forget about how good Hunter Dickinson is because it was not a fluke last year. So anybody that will look at his lack of athleticism and say, well, he's probably not that good, it might be a fluke, don't buy into it.
Yeah.
He is extremely skilled at getting position where he is. You're going to see him score the easiest 20 points in a game, and you're going to be like, well, yeah, anybody could have scored that. Yeah, but he made all of those guys who were driving and just dumped a bounce pass off to him, he made their job so easy by clearing his guy out, just playing basketball ahead, like playing 3D chess kind of, like moving his guy in a position, throwing his foot around him, not blocking, not allowing him to go through, and then dumping it down for an easy dunk or layup.
Yeah, so I actually had him as my MVP. It was more or less like I hope he is, because I think he needs to be, because I think he came back for obviously reasons to win, and he wants all of that, and that's the fun thing. He wants to go to Michigan. That's awesome. But I think he came back to develop more than what he did last year. If it was all about being a center, and what we saw last year was he was ready for the NBA from what we saw. But he wasn't drafted high enough because that's not what the NBA it takes value in. And right now, like that's where I'm looking at Hunter Dickinson and kind of this team here as a whole is like if it doesn't work out, if he doesn't develop the outside shot, if he doesn't develop more than what we already saw last year that he does great and he's trying to do too much, trying to force more than he should be, longer than he should be, like that is very concerning to me. And that's where I'm like I hope he's the MVP because I think he needs to be the MVP, if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
Does it?
It makes sense, yeah.
Okay.
I'll buy it. We're at MVP?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what are you selling?
Caleb Houston.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He has a unique ability that not many players have. He could end up being one of the top prospects in next year's draft, or he could be a role player who drafted in the second round like Isaiah Livers. Yeah. And not to say Isaiah Livers wasn't there, but he might be forgotten in the end, or he could come out and just shoot the lights out, gain some crazy amount of confidence, and be like, hey, turns out I am 6'7", 6'8", super athletic, but also a silky smooth runner and shooter and all this other stuff, and be dominant like a Kevin Durant. Like he honestly could do that. He's played in the past in his AAU game. He used to play with Scotty Barnes, who was drafted 4th overall last year. Cade Cunningham, drafted 1st overall last year. The second pick for the Golden State Warriors last year, Moses Moody, who was like the 10th or 11th pick overall last year. Like these are the guys that he's always played second fiddle to because he was younger than them, but he was the young guy playing with all of those guys. So his talent level matched theirs, but he didn't have the role because he was younger. So just watch out for him. If he gets his confidence, he could end up being a star of college basketball this year.
Yeah, that would be awesome. It'd be nice to have a star. It really would. So overall expectations, I'm going in a little cautiously optimistic. Like I think they should be a number 1 seed. I think they should win the Big Ten. I know it's going to be tough going down with them and Purdue, but I also think that there's going to be things are going to have to come into place. And I'm a little concerned, like I talked about with Hunter Dickinson, and like the way that I feel like they're going to be transitioning a lot of things here, and it's not going to be a plug and replace type thing. It's going to have to be a new type of basketball than what they've done the last couple of years, or last several years, I should say. So that's a little concerning how quickly they learn it and if it works. But Ryan, overall, what do you think we should expect here as Michigan fans about this basketball team?
So they're ranked number 6 right now in the nation. I would say that's about my expectations. I think they should battle. If they earn a number 1 overall seed or a number 1 seed in the tournament come March, then I feel like that was an extremely successful season. I expect them to battle for that number 1, 2, 3 seed guaranteed. And they're one of the top 2 best teams in the Big Ten. Yeah, the only other team, like I think Purdue is a really, really complete, really good team in the Big Ten. And I think it's between them and Michigan to see who's the best team. I hope they don't. I don't know. They might have a lower downside compared to last year because I think Isaiah Livers was very underrated on the team. We saw that in the tournament. So I think Isaiah Livers as a whole would keep them up to a certain level last year and not let them fall down. But I think their overall group of talent is probably more this year, so they have a higher upside.